Syria is a great place, used to be a great place, and in my heart is still a wonderful place. Prior to 2011, it was a nice place. We were living a normal life, you know. Suddenly, the Arab Spring started, and it reached Syria. And then there was a peaceful uprising. Then things got so wrong, and it became, the uprising became militarized. Then you've got the regional, the international powers getting involved. So I'm not going into the politics of this. I'm going to focus on the humanitarian side of it. Then I'll talk about my journey from Syria to the UK. I had to leave my place because I'm coming from a Kurdish background. So being a Kurdish at that time in 2013 was very difficult because you were stuck between a hard place and a rock. The government accused us of being separatists. The radical groups accused us of being, some of them, like especially the radical elements, of not being, Muslims, or not being the good Muslims, of being sympathizers with the regime. So I was a student at that time. I was doing my MA in English literature. I was learning about Shakespeare, about, a lot of stuff. From poetry to drama to prose. I graduated about that time. My town was under siege by the militants. I had to flee. I don't want to flee, but the trigger for me was when the town was under siege for quite about 2 weeks. It was besieged by the radical groups Jabhat al-Nusra and ISIS at that time. At that time they were, allies, beginning 2012. Before the split happened between them. So what they did, they attacked the town. There were young people fighting there. Most of them, these young people, they never ever carried a weapon in their own life. They were defending the town. What happened? They ran out of ammunition because they were encircled. The radical elements, they managed to break the siege, and to take over the town. And what they did, they captured some of the young people and they beheaded them. They forced their mothers, they forced their families, children and women, to watch this. And for me, I had to flee because I was wanted. I spoke some English at that stage. I was criticizing them because they were violating human rights, I had to make that journey fleeing Aleppo. After I got a lot of friends advised me, please move out because you will be killed. So I made the journey from Aleppo, crossing the capital, Raqqa, then to Hasaka, then I made it to the KRG in Iraq, the Kurdish region of Iraq. It was beginning 2013, I joined the United Nations there. I was working for them, I was working for UNICEF at that stage as a Communication for Development senior facilitator. So, linking the field to the office. What was happening at that stage? Millions, of Syrians, after surviving, hardships, after surviving siege, barrel bombs, knives, they managed to flee and to get to the borders. And what happened at that time, once these people get to the border, the neighboring countries, the host countries, most of them, they were taking them in a coach and a bus, driving them and dumping them in a refugee camp, where they were surrounded by a fence and the army. So an average family would have about 5-6 members. And people thought at that stage that it might be 1 week, 2 weeks, probably a month, 2, 6, till the situation in Syria gets better, so they can go back to their families, to their people. For me, it was very difficult. Very difficult because Iraq was a very hot place during the summer, about 50, 52 degrees, and living in a tent with 5, 6 members was awful. There's no privacy for any of these people, According to the recent figures from the United Nations, today in Syria, you've got over 5 million people taking refuge in the neighboring countries. Over 8 million people are internally displaced. Over 500,000 people lost their lives. And over 3 million children today are out of school. 1 in 4 people, Syrians, one out of 4 Syrians today is officially a refugee. And it all happened in the last 5 years, and soon it will be 6 years. Sometimes people ask me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I laugh at them. I don't know. Look what happened in the last 5 years, Life turned upside down for us. I'm coming from a country, a wonderful place, We've been always generous. We welcomed the Kuwaitis. We welcomed, the Palestinians since 1948. We welcomed the Lebanese. We welcomed the Iraqis. And we never, ever erected a refugee tent. Neither a tent for anyone. We always welcomed them. But sadly, Syria was taken by surprise. I don't know what happened there. So I was working for the UN there. Then it was August 2014. I was in Mosul, near Mosul, in Erbil, when suddenly, overnight, the city fell to the Islamic State. That was the worst experience I've ever came across. Thousands, of women, men, people were literally slaughtered. They killed by the Islamic State. And what struck me the most was the Kurdish Yazidis at that stage. Because according to ISIS mentality at that stage, if you are the people of the book, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Jewish, if you are a Christian, you're fine. You can live on a Muslim land, but you need to pay al-jizya, which is the tax that you pay to live on a Muslim land, according to their interpretation of Islam. But if you're not the people of the book, then you're in a big trouble. If you're a Zoroastrian, if you're a Yazidi or other religions, then you're in a big trouble. What happened at that stage? Yazidis could not get through ISIS checkpoints. They couldn't flee. They were stranded on the top of Mount Sinjar for a few days. There were thousands of women and children stuck on the top of Mount Sinjar in Shingal at that stage. There were women, I remember, they were giving birth to children. There was no doctors, there was no medical facilities. On the top of that mountain, scorched. There were women giving birth to children. There was no place. There were some children born lifeless. You just go and throw them away. There's no place to bury them. The people were so desperate. I remember there were water wells, surrounding the mountain. There were some young people descending there to fetch water to these women and children. And what happened? ISIS, they captured them, they beheaded them, and they threw their bodies into these water wells. After 1 week, the army, the Americans, the Iraqi army, they started getting food and water dropped on there. Then the Kurdish militants, the YPG, they managed to open a humanitarian corridor for thousands of these people to come to Syria and they go back to Iraq, to the KRG. At that stage, I had to flee as well. I fled hell to end up in another hell. At that stage, I was away from my friends in Aleppo. It was an awful situation in Aleppo. I had to go back to Syria. But for me, again, to go from Al-Hasaka to Aleppo, I had to cross ISIS. And if I got captured, I'll be immediately beheaded. So I moved to southeast of Turkey. I said, this should be fine for me. But it was not fine. The troubles between the Turkish government and the Kurdish militants, the PKK started. Just bombing and shelling, their towns leveled. It was an awful situation. Okay, what to do now? At that stage, I decided just to move out of this place for some time. And I moved to Izmir, and this is how my journey started. It was me and my friend. We walked to Izmir, and we had to find a smuggler. It was very funny. I walked to the smuggler, There in Izmir, there is a huge network of smugglers. They are well set up. So I went to the smuggler. I told him, look, I need to go to the UK. Can you help me? He said, of course. Give me the money, and within 24 hours, you will end up in London. I said, well, fantastic. Yeah, please, help me. I said, come back tomorrow. But on our way back, my friend told me, are you stupid? Why you told him you're going to the UK? The smuggler will know that you have money. Then they will come, they will kill you, they will rob you. I immediately went back to him and said, well, no, look, I don't want to go to the UK. The UK is an awful place. I don't want to go there. I just want to go to Greece. That's it. He said, well, why you change your mind so fast? I said, well, I don't know. I just don't want to go there. So that day we went back, we met him. In order for me to get to Greece, I had to give them money, to give him a deposit. And because I do not trust him, he does not trust me, we had to give the money for a third-party person. The third-party person is the smuggler's best friend. So I walked to him, I said, look, my name is blah, blah, I'm traveling with John the smuggler, for example, He said, okay. I gave him the money, he takes about 50 euros a commission, and he gave me 4 secret-digit code. He said, okay, when you land in Greece, you call me, you give me this 4 secret-digit code, then I hand the money over to the smuggler. I agreed with the smuggler that the money will be, he contacted his friend, and he said, okay, the money is here, the deposit is here, he's ready to go. We agreed that it will be 24 people on a boat. The smugglers, they showed us the yacht. Fantastic. It has a kitchen in it. It had food here, and it was like, oh my God, are we traveling on this? Of course you're traveling with this. I'm not kidding. Come on, you paid a lot of money, so yeah, you deserve a better treatment. I said, okay, thanks, sir. You're very nice. And the day came. We went to the shore in the middle of the forest. All the phones were turned off, and it turned out to be 88 people and on a donkey. 88 people, half of them, they were women and children, And for me it was fine, I'm a young man, I can swim. If the dinghy goes down, I can swim. Before we set off, the dinghy was leaking. We told this man it was midnight. He said, well, it's leaking, we're gonna die. They said, shut up. There was an Iraqi man, he said, I'm going to call the police. And the smuggler immediately, they caught him. They started beating him and his wife and child. They were all bleeding. We're so terrified. We said, please take the money and just leave us. They said, shut up, get on it. We got on it. Within 3 hours, we made it to Kos Island. Literally a few minutes before the thing completely drowned. We got to Kos Island. We landed there in the dawn. And I went to the police and the immigration, and then they gave me kind of a kind of paper that allows me to take a ferry to mainland in Athens. Because I was Syrian, I am Syrian at that stage. They gave me 6 months notice to leave Greece, while other nationalities, they gave them only 30 days notice to leave. I went to mainland Athens, and again I had to find another smuggler to help me make the journey. I literally went to Facebook, to Twitter. They are so famous on the social media. There are thousands of these people there. I had to look for someone who was very famous across Athens, I contacted him, I called him. He said, well, you cannot do this. It doesn't work like this. I said, sorry, well, how is it supposed to do it? We said, you need to book an appointment to come and meet me. I said, okay. How can this do? I said, contact this person and he will book you an appointment. I contacted that person. After 2 days, our turn came. I walked to that place. It was a huge, pub. At the back of that yard, there were a small office. There were literally dozens of people queuing to meet that smuggler, My turn came. I walked to the place. And the first question he asked me, he told me, do you speak any French? I said, no. He told me, do you speak any Spanish? I said, I'm sorry, I don't. He said, what the hell do you speak? Well, I said, I speak some Arabic, I speak some Kurdish, I speak little English. He said, okay, would work. He came with a suitcase full of passports, British, American, Australian, Indian, thousands of passports. And he picked one of these passports. Well, this will be your passport. But you have to do what I'm going to tell you. That guy was super intelligent. He drew the map of Athens International Airport in front of my eyes. He said, you come from here, you enter, you scan your boarding, you do your security, you go downstairs. Before you before you board, there are 2 girls. One is black, one is blonde. You go to the blonde. If you go to the black, we will lose it all. I said, okay. I was so afraid. He told me, go change your clothes, shave, and walk to the airport. They gave me a passport. It was a Bulgarian passport. The guy's name was Qadirov Muhammadov. It took me 3 days just to remember the name, the details, the date birth, and it was very difficult. So I walked to the airport with my luggage. I scanned my boarding and everything. I walked down. My ticket was to Marseille in France. I was waiting with this French tourist, you know, like, I'm a tourist. I'm Bulgarian, I'm going to France. So, the Greek authorities and the German police at that stage, I don't know what the Germans were doing there, but they were so pissed off, I don't know why, because apparently the Greeks were allowing everyone to come and fly to Europe. So the Greeks introduced their police to stop this. So the police came to the waiting lounge and they spotted some people, they took them out. They captured them, you know. I was so terrified. For the first time in my entire life, I was in a European, airport with a fake ID, with a fake everything. I didn't have an option but to trust a smuggler because the system failed us, the governments failed us. I didn't have an option but to put my face and trust in that smuggler. I was waiting there. 2 minutes later, one of the Greek, I think it was German or Greek, he came from behind and told me, okay, show me your passport. I was dead inside, I gave it to him. I said, okay, look at it. He said, Mr. Qadr Mohamedov, where are you going? I said, I literally had to make up a story. I said, I've got my girlfriend in Marseille, and we are celebrating our anniversary there. Is there any problem, sir? He looked at me and said, no, enjoy. And he gave me the passport. I rushed to the plane. I didn't believe it. And the first thing I did when I boarded, I ran to the toilet. I just showed the passport. Because the smuggler told me if you land in France with this passport, the French will capture you. You will be fingerprinted. You will be deported back to Greece. You lose the money, you lose the passport, you will be fingerprinted. Game over for you, Ahmed. Bye-bye. So I just showed the passport. After 2 hours and a half, I landed in Marseille, and to my surprise, I was literally in the street because it's in the Schengen area. There was no police, no control, nothing. Just, why on earth I destroyed my passport? I could use it again to fly to the UK, but it was too late. I took a train to Paris, enjoyed it for 2 days. Went to the Louvre, went to the Eiffel Tower, enjoyed it. Just to pretend to be a tourist. From there I moved to Calais. Spent about 10 days in Calais. They were the worst days of my entire life. In Calais, a place, in the heart of Europe, where there's no infrastructure at that stage. There was no services. There were smugglers, killers, thousands of people, children. There's nothing. It's total chaos there. I spent about 10 days there every day, chasing cars and jumping off fences. Smugglers putting me in the back of cars and lorries and with vegetable, with chicken and with meat. I was freezing. The last night in Calais, an Egyptian smuggler, he put me and other 7 people in a tanker full of bread flour. He said, 2 hours, you will have your dinner in London. I said, fantastic, great. He put us in this tanker, and when he walked away, he shut the circle of that tanker. It was total darkness. And I couldn't breathe. I turned on my mobile. There was no signal at all. All I could breathe at that stage was flour. I was literally like singing in flour at that stage, After 5 hours, the tanker did not move. After like 7-9 hours, the tanker started moving, it was moving. And we all started suffocating. There was one child, we were 7 people at that stage, there was one child, The child started crying and crying and crying. It was very difficult at that stage. And after like 9 hours, we all started literally crying like children, We started suffocating. We started knocking and knocking, but no one is listening, I closed my eyes, I was literally like crying like a child. I had only one wish. I need 1 minute before I die. I just need to meet my family before I die. And after like 11 hours, we started knocking and knocking and knocking. The driver stopped. And he let us out of that tanker. And to our surprise, we're near the Italian border. It was the wrong car, it was the wrong driver. The smuggler was lying, but I was so furious. I gave up on the UK. I couldn't lose my life to come to the UK. I went back to Calais. From Calais, I moved to Brussels. From there, I moved to Germany. Spent a few days in Germany. But when I looked at the regulations in Germany, it was very, very difficult. I couldn't get my family out of Syria at that stage. It took me 2 years at that stage. I called another smuggler. He put me in the back of a lorry, And after 3 days, sitting in the back of a lorry, doing nothing, literally like this, I ended up in Hull, in the UK. You know, and the first message I got when I turned on my mobile was, "Welcome to the UK." You know, I mean, I am one of the privileged because I'm at the journey. I'm here. After like 3 months, the UK government, they gave me the refugee status, which entitles me to bring over my family. So I brought over my family. It's been over a year since I arrived in this country, a year and a few months since I got to this country. You know, again, I mean, if you look at the refugee crisis today, everyone is talking about refugee crisis. About Europe refugee crisis. It's not a crisis for Europe. It's a crisis for us. It's a crisis for these people, thousands and millions of these people. Today, globally, over 65 million people today are forced to live out of their homes. 65 million people. And last year, 1 million people managed to make it to Europe. And you have all these funds that they are coming, they're invading our continent. Come on, guys. Europe is the biggest economical political bloc. Over 500 million people are living on this continent. You know, if you look in Turkey, over 3 million people. Jordan, Iraq, Lebanon, 1 in 3 people is a refugee in that country, and people are not making fuss about it. Come on, you know. I mean, honestly, if the UK, France, and other nations, the developed nations, refuse to take the lead in this. It's so wrong to go and breach people and tell them to do wrong to people. I mean, to treat people well. You know, I mean, 86% of the refugees today are living in developing countries. And again, I mean, if you look at the Syrian refugee crisis, the top majority of these people are living literally near the border because they don't want to come to Europe. A very tiny fraction of refugees made it to Europe, you know. The top majority, they don't want to come. I mean, why would someone who was born in Aleppo, for example, would leave his family behind and everything behind, would travel to Germany or Sweden, where he's literally got no clue about the culture, the language, the people, the history of that. So why would they do it? If it was the case with Syrians, they would come in the 80s, in the 90s, but they're coming today because there is a reason, you know. And again, we need to look at this as an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for Europe. It's not a crisis. So, and just to conclude with, I mean, a lot of Syrians, you know, before the conflict, they had homes. Today they're homeless. They don't have a home. And they had jobs. Today they are jobless. The only thing that they have today is hope. Please don't make them hopeless. Thank you very much.